It's the Jawshow, Season 3. A common satire podcast designed to save the world or possibly end it. Brought to you in part by Blue Speed Productions. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Check out my page for more info. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join me every Friday at 3 p.m. here, live on the Jawshow. You can find us everywhere. Join my evil empire today. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jawshow. Today is Veterans Day, so I brought my lovely lady Eunice onto the show today.
Hi.
Thank you for your service, and thank you all of those out there for your service and sacrifice, first of all, before we start the show today. This show is going to be about mental health, not only in society, but also for veterans as well, because it's the big subject that a lot of people are starting to take seriously. And it's something that we both are very passionate about because we both have mental issues, and we both have varying degrees of them, sometimes from very positive to very negative. Sometimes they're stress related or situational related. And for veterans, especially anyone who's even been through boot camp, you are a veteran. You may not be a veteran according to the standards and practices according to the VA, but you are considered a veteran if you ever entered service and signed a contract saying, I wanted to be in service of the United States of America. That's what qualifies you for being at least an honorary veteran, at least. And I believe that's what you are.
No, I am a veteran.
Okay, see, she's correcting me. So, but that's why I brought her on today, so she can explain a little bit to you and me and everybody what the differences of those could be. So I'd like to hand it over to Eunice a little bit to talk about her personal experience and what she went through as well.
Hi, everybody. I joined the Navy the same year that I got out of high school. And it was a good decision. And two of my three brothers also were sailors, just like my dad. He was a World War II naval officer, served in the South Pacific. And everybody that when they are inducted into the service, we all raise our hands and give the oath of service. And amongst other things, you promise to follow all orders and directives given from the commander-in-chief, aka the president, all the way down to company commanders, anybody with rank above you. And the big thing about it is that there is no expiration date. The minute I signed on the dotted line, as it were, I made a promise to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, with up to my life, if necessary. That didn't get rescinded when I got discharged. And, you know, I would still defend this country. Hell, my home.
Zombie apocalypse with a pen, you never know.
You weirdo. And I'm sure anybody that has an honorable discharge or even a general discharge, they would echo my sentiments exactly.
Depending on the situation and what it was about, some dishonored veterans, even though they have been just dishonorably discharged, may still hold a special place in their heart for their country, even though what they did was technically or actually against what protocols that she promised to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure I got that right. So.
Yeah, and there are instances where somebody who was dishonorably discharged, they can never have an honor guard at their funeral because they did not serve honorably, hence the dishonorable discharge. Okay. Say, for instance, well, I have a friend of mine in California. She was in, I believe, the Air Force. I went to school with her, and we were good friends. And after she had done her service, she was coming out of a bar, and a guy tried attacking her. And this was not that long after she left the service. Okay. All she did was push him away from her. He lost his footing because he was drunk, struck his head on a curb, and he was killed. She is now serving life. But because she was honorably discharged, that fact, I shouldn't say guaranteed her, that fact meant that she was due an honor guard at her funeral. But now that she had been charged with a felony and convicted, that can never happen. Now, in prison, she is on an honor guard. So other veterans like her that normally would not be afforded the same considerations. She and other inmates that are all veterans, they have a military funeral for these ladies. Now, a bunch of us that went to school with her, she came up for parole a few years back, and we wrote letters. For some of my classmates that are in California. They said they wanted to be at her parole hearing. She's still in prison. And I was told that essentially they wanted to make an example out of her for defending herself from an attack.
Now you're comfortable sharing this lady's name?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, because, she's already, and maybe this could help her get something, taken care of. But because she was in the military, she had a higher standard of what was expected. Because she was trained, and because she had that wherefore to do that even though she didn't mean to, because she had the ability to do that and kill someone because she's been through the proper training.
Yes.
That put her in a higher status. That's why she was held to a higher standard, I think. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Did that have anything to do with her conviction?
No.
Okay, well,
from what I understand, no, it didn't. But I could be mistaken on that.
Okay, so
I I was just told they decided to make an example out of her as a young woman who was just leaving a bar. And somebody got a wild hair up their backside and said, oh, well, military veterans, they are more dangerous. And yeah, I guess, but you know, any more dangerous than, say, cops? They receive the same type of training. There's a lot of different professions that you have the potential of doing serious harm to somebody.
Now, since we're talking about mental health, how does this relate to the mental health crisis in the military?
Well, there are a lot coming back from the Middle East.
Let's just say battle, any kind of service that might have.
Yeah, any combat that a person has seen. And from what I have been able to understand, you know, the current war is more brutal. I don't know how. Probably my brothers would understand. My one brother works in a VA center in North Carolina. And he's probably seen a lot and heard a lot. And I would hazard to guess that people that he has known probably have committed suicide.
You know, and sometimes I just want to put in here, it's not always about combat or something that had happened to them personally. Seeing something happen to your platoon or seeing something happen to an area, even if it's in the Middle East, going to see that and dealing with that on a daily basis, just doing your duty, can sometimes break some people, even the strongest people, down. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to touch base with as far as the military personnel goes on. They have sometimes varying degrees of PTSD. They have different varying degrees of issues when they come back from combat situation or coming back from just being in the military period, because depending on the personalities and or things that they are, will determine what they kind of help they may need afterwards.
And you know, that's another thing. As much testing as the military puts you through, and especially in boot camp, they cannot foresee how a military member is going to react in a combat situation. They just don't know. Something might trigger something that the soldier or the sailor or what have you may have experienced in childhood, and they see something, you know, overseas, and boom, it's right back.
Right.
And they would have no way of foreseeing that.
Let's just take, for example, and I'm just using this as an example. Let's say they were abused very young as a child, but it was handled pretty quickly. The child doesn't really remember it or whatever, up to a certain age and stuff. Parents know about it. He's dealt with some issues with it in the past. He's come to terms with it because he saw some of it growing up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because he felt that to better himself and to make himself a little bit of a better person, he went into the military, got all the right training, did all the right things, passed all the right tests, served his country honorably. But somewhere in there, he got faced with the situation where a child or something else that would have been him in that same situation, and maybe in that morning with his training, with everything that has going on, he could have snapped and performed even an action that was approved by the commander or whoever was in charge, or not, depending on the situation. But it's that kind of a thing that no one can 100% prepare for, because until, and hopefully this never happens, but until you can peer inside the mind of somebody and go, oh, this is what they're thinking every day, will seconds generate a second at a minute, sometimes we make decisions that we're not always thinking very clearly of, and that might help with some criminal case somewhere down the road. But in the moment when it's actually happening and actually doing it,
Yeah.
very little or would not be able to do that. So
Right.
what I'm trying to get to is where I kind of want to bring us back to the mental health crisis and kind of tie it into that. There are a lot of different people who have been in service who did nothing wrong during their whole entire service, but because what they did after service was against the law, a felony, that disqualifies them for certain things and may have had something to do, or may have had something to do with her friend's case. And it was in a time period that was a lot earlier than we are now. So the rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, she graduated high school in the early 80s. So, a lot has happened. And personally, I would love to see the Innocence Project step in on her behalf.
Well, like I said,
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
it's going to take someone who's willing to share the story and name names and tell details and be able to be honey badger on it, to be a warrior for that,
Well,
so,
I don't mind saying my friend's first name.
you can say that.
Okay, her name is Andy, short for Andrea. And one of the fiercest friends you could ever ask for.
Kind of person you'd want in a military situation.
Oh my God, yes.
Right.
Oh my God, yes.
But just like we're touching base on some things that are kind of like a little bit more of past history, that's what she dealt with somebody who was in service. And what she dealt with in service was basically just getting through the boot camp part and being medically discharged because of things that were wrong with her at the time, right? Or
total misdiagnoses.
But
okay.
Still.
My family doctor that I had grown up with said if they had done a simple blood test, what they diagnosed me with would have been thrown out. But because it was never done, I got screwed, and not in a fun way.
So I want to bring this back to a little bit of the current climate that we're living in now, not only in America, but in the military. And if you are a veteran and you need any kind of help with anything, depression, anxiety, PTSD, if you have bad dreams, if you're having trouble reacclimating, please visit a VA. Please visit VFW. Please visit
American Legion, DAV. We all
know most of the organizations that are out there to help veterans.
Yeah.
Sometimes our government doesn't do such a good job, but they are really trying to do their best right now. I wish they were doing way better in this respect, especially when it came to mental health after the fact, and even a little bit before that fact, of mentally preparing people for better suiting them to the situations they're going to be in as best as they can. Because like you said, we can't plan for everything. Someone drops, nuclear bombs. We don't know what that's going to be like if we all have to face that all at once. No one wants to have to do that. So quit it, Ukraine. Anyway, that's fine. But it's just one of those things where even us, we remember for 2 years we all went into seclusion for 2 years and we're dealt with all of those little things that we never had to deal with for a long time. We've been a busy world for a while, and then suddenly we had to go, oh wait, now I have all this time on my hands, more than I have ever had in a long time. Right. And a lot of people went reassess because they actually had time to think about what they wanted to do with their lives. And some of that created good things and bad things from it. Some people got caught in their brains and took it in a positive direction and changed their lives. Well, we're seeing the benefits and disbenefits of that now because of the way the pandemic happened. A lot of things that are opportunities now weren't available back then before the pandemic because we had to.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because we had to because of those things, we adopted new systems to put in place so that our world wouldn't come crashing to a halt. Not that I think that would have happened, but in their minds, in a lot of people's minds, if certain things had stopped, like the internet would have stopped, well, okay, you wouldn't have been able to watch my show, but you know what? I would have lived pretty happy with, you know, TV still available and other things still available. So, you know,
Yeah.
you know, broadcast TV would have come back big time, whatever, you know. So depending, but for me personally, for my mental health, I have varying degrees of anxieties, and they can send me. I can be this kind of cool guy that you see on the show all the damn time, the funny jokes and all that stuff. But sometimes I can get because I get so frustrated and understand, and then something clicks in my brain that doesn't allow me to shut that anger off the way it should be done appropriately. Now, medication and other things that help me control that, but even my stress levels can get to a point where my body, my mind can't handle it.
Yes.
He's complaining because we aren't feeding him the food he wants at this particular moment. So, hi, Lucy. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, Lucifer. Come here, you little furball.
Gonna come say hi to all the people for Veterans Day?
Yes.
All right. Lucifer made an appearance on the show. It's all the whole family is on the Jawshow today.
Yes, indeed.
So, you know, and when we talk about the mental health crisis, especially when it comes to people who have been in service and have done some kind of, that's including doctors, nurses, that's including people who put their lives on the line every single day.
Yeah.
If you're a first responder, and I know we're talking about military today, but I don't care. If you put your life on the line for somebody else and you do something that could heal them, hurt them, do whatever, you know, if you have one of those kind of jobs, some varying degrees of PTSD or anxiety or whatever may come from that job. And like I said, depends on the person, can come out. And we are not handling this situation at all very well in America. Not at all.
Shot.
Because there are more programs out there for, I'm sorry, and if you're a gun person, but there are more programs out there for you to get a gun than there are mental health places to help you get help.
Yeah.
There are more places out there to supply you the things to cause harm than there are to help people, not cause harm.
That's right.
And sometimes all it takes is for someone to sit down and talk to someone about something that they don't understand. They have this thing. Some things are chemical, some things are emotional, some things are situational.
Yeah. And, you know, my dad, like I said, he was an officer in World War II. Back in those days, they called it, PTSD.
Shell shock or something?
Yeah, shell shock and battle fatigue. It's had various names.
Same different thing, different various names depending on the.
And yet, I don't think my dad ever got help. And for all the things that he saw on his ship alone, his ship was targeted by kamikazes. His ship had caught on fire, which, use your head. If you're on a ship in the middle of the ocean and it catches on fire, you're in deep doo-doo. But he went through a hurricane on his ship. He went through fire. He went through so much. And yet when I asked him, Dad, what did you do in the war? And he just kind of like type of a response. And I said, no, Dad, what did you do? What things did you see? And he would say, it was war. What do you think we saw? Stuff was blown up. People were killed. It was war.
Yep.
And I knew he was affected because every Memorial Day, he got really silent. And I know it's because of the men on his ship that had been lost. And he had a very acute understanding that if he had been in the wrong place, he would not have survived.
Mm-hmm. So I know this is normally a comedy satire podcast, and one of the things I want to tell my viewers about is that the comedy and the satire is basically me putting on the evil mask of an evil villain trying to destroy the world. That's the comedy satire part. Everything else we talk about on the show is designed to help actually bring us closer together. That's my actual evil plan. Sorry. Was supposed to let that out of the bag. See, comedy, satire. But we don't always do a great job of that either. But some people can get the help that they need and when they need to get it. But even if you think you might have someone, even if you just talk to somebody who's a friend of yours, who's a veteran, or someone who's in a little bit of mental disorder, don't always take what's going on with them as something that's wrong with them all the time, because we have invisible diseases, both of us, except for her now. She'd show you, but she has lost one of her legs.
No, well, not the whole leg,
but below the knee, she's lost her leg. Okay, that was due to some diabetic complications that she fought for 6 years. So we'll cover that somewhere down the road. But honestly, she's learning to deal with something new in her life too. And even someone who's going through something that's a new situation to get used to can sometimes cause anxiety, depression,
frustration,
self-doubt, self-worry. Do I want to even keep doing this anymore? Blah, 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 blah. Goes running through your head. And a lot of that happens to a lot of us. That can be as simple as getting your kids to school on time, going to a job, coming home, cooking dinner, making time for your husband, making time for your wife or your husband, or your wife, or whatever, right?
Yeah, your spouse.
Your spouse, okay? Whatever you want to claim it. We're LGBTQ friendly here, so, and military friendly. And I probably did the wrong hand, but whatever.
No, it is the right hand.
Well, see, like we're learning. You're learning something new today. Oh, watch it. You could learn something. Better turn it off now. Now that's being a little bit farce, and we don't mean that to be any disrespect to anybody of our military members. But
I learned that in boot camp.
Right. So it's one of those things where we because it's very passionate subject for both of us when it comes to mental health. I have gotten therapy for 3 years before I could get to a point where I actually love myself to the point where I no longer want to kill myself. It took me 25 years to get to the point where I don't want to die every day. And that's a big thing. It took me that long to get to that point where I don't want to die every day. I actually wake up every day going, well, let's see what today's adventure is going to bring. And if the world kicks me today, it gets me today, right? I stopped trying to look at suicide as being a way out. That's my personal choice and decision. And I would highly recommend you try to find a healthier way to resolve your issues than that. I always say to you, think of the people you will leave behind rather than yourself, because it's not for yourself at the moment. You're living both for yourself and for them, maybe initially, but you're really saying, I love you by not doing that for the first time, you know? And getting help is you not adding a Band-Aid, it's you tourniqueting it and getting to a hospital in time to save your life,
right?
Okay? It's whatever. And the reason I wanted to talk about suicide, especially when it comes to military and mental disorders in this country, is because those are the things that really worry us in this country when we have all of this change going on right now, more than we've dealt with in a long time. It's a societal change, it's a societal shift. Yes, your political party can do this. Yes, your political party can do that. Yes, we've had some things happen where some people disagree with other people about certain idealizations. Our government hasn't even finished deciding what it's going to do with itself yet, because they're still counting votes and all of that stuff. And if you voted, thank you for voting.
Yes.
We couldn't vote this year because we couldn't get out to a car, and I didn't put my absentee ballot in the mail in time. So that's my bad, and I'm going to take responsibility as a voter for that. Yeah, you could have head slapped me for that. I honestly deserve the head slap. But anyway, and if you choose not to vote, that's your right too. But then, like someone once said to me, if you don't vote for the rules that you are approving of, you can't complain about the rules you don't approve of.
Or as George Carlin puts it, he said, I never vote. Therefore, I have a right to complain because it's all you idiots out there that voted in the boneheads that keep on getting elected. And you see nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Just another way of looking at it.
So we're just using that as an example and not trying to parody that in any way, because Facebook has gotten a little bit weird about saying stuff about other shows and places and stuff. So we don't mean any offense to anybody. We're not taking the rights or privileges of anybody here. We're just talking about life in general.
And George Carlin, we miss you. God, we wish you were here.
We'd be having a lot of laughs right now if you were still available. But there are a lot of other comics out there who do a lot of wonderful jobs. Fluffy! And you know, if you can't tell, we're big Fluffy fans. We went a couple of years ago, well, quite a ways ago, but it was
3, I think.
Well, you know,
2
better.
or 3, something like that.
Got to get the motor running, you know. Yeah, see, that's what happens to men's brain when they talk like this to us all the time. That's all we hear. Nothing? Really? Okay, all the women out there, bitch slap me, please. And we're not just talking about male or female people, and even people who have to deal with the old rules of do not don't tell, gays in the military and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what you went into to serve your country. You went in to serve your country. What you do in your bedroom should have never been an issue. What your religion is should never be an issue. You're there to serve and protect the country.
Yeah.
To defend the laws and the Constitution that we all say we want it still to be here.
Right.
And that is the most important thing about America, is that we have that freedom to do. And every time you get that, this day, if you remember, especially on Veterans Day or Memorial Day or 4th of July or any day that celebrates any kind of military presence out there, you should thank your lucky stars that they did what they did for you to get to where you are today.
Yeah.
Because we could be living in a country where we're being bombed because we don't agree with the local government and we're just a stone's throw away. You know, if we were closer, let's just say Canada decided to start throwing shade our way for whatever reason, you know, and you know, likelihood of that happening, whatever. Well, Canada, maybe you don't like us anymore. Okay, whatever.
Oh, Canada.
And, you know, there are, you know, actually today in UK, another friend of mine from the group I'm a part of said that on the 11th day, at the 11th hour of this day, everything stands still in the UK.
Yeah.
In honor of all the military that was lost, not only in their own wars, but to honor us as well.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, and most of that, and it should go without saying, is because the US and the UK are such close allies, and the vast majority of Americans that have been here for generations, most of them came from the UK. So, yeah, it's not surprising. It's not surprising that they want to respect and honor us.
Yeah. So I just want to give us one last kind of final thoughts here for everyone before we end the episode. It's a little bit longer today, but I promised I wouldn't keep it more than a couple more minutes after my time, because I went a couple hours a couple weeks ago. Thank you if you watched my hour-long episodes. Like I said, I'm trying to get a little bit more personal with my episodes. So please, if you like the show, if you have would like to come on the show and give your opinion, if you're a unique person with a unique group or business, we do promote small business on the Jawshow. And I do interviews, and what I ask them to do is come on my show for 15 minutes and tell me about their business and how it's affecting their world, even in their local communities, what they're doing to make the world a better place in their own special way as a job. Then the other half of the show, they come on and they explain to me how we can save the world together. And I ask them my evolutionary question: how would we save the world? How would you save the world if you could do it in one thought? Or I propose it like that. So, you know, that's the goal of the Jawshow, is to get us to all understand and view this world in a unique and different way. They say if you can view the world through someone else's eyes and look back at yourself and you can see yourself the person you want to be, then you're doing a pretty good job. But if you look back through someone's eyes and you don't see the person you like, maybe you should think about changing a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, this last bit for me, I just want to say, please, if you think you need any kind of help out there, whether you be veteran, normal person, any kind in between, just seek some help as much as you can. Even if that's the best friend at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'd rather get that phone call than the one in the morning saying you died because you killed yourself because you wouldn't pick up the phone and say, please help me.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to turn it over to Denise for her final thought.
My final thought basically is echoing what J.A.W said. There are places, drop-in centers, drop-in mental health centers. You know, if you don't live anywhere near a VA and you are a veteran, seek out other free clinics that will get you the help you need. Just don't give in to the voices that say this world would be better off without me, because it won't. Period.
So we would like to thank you for coming to this very special Veterans Day episode and talking about the mental health crisis in this country. We both like to say thank you one last time to our men and women of service of all brand, and to anyone out there who is having trouble right now. Know that there are people out there who are willing to help you. So thank you for coming to the Jawshow. This has been J.A.W and
Eunice.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye. Don't look at us in that.